Ask yourself that question constantly. But due to the fact that the type of education we are receiving today is an education that severs us from our reality as Muslims, our moral code of who we are and as an identity as Muslims, you end up realizing we try to hold on to a rope which is not ours, and we keep on burning every day. So when you look at the reason why you're educating yourself or you're learning, the barrier, the entry barrier itself is too high that by the time you finish learning, you end up thinking, how am I going to pay my debts? How am I going to get a job through that? But the reality is education is not a purpose, it's not the purpose for someone seeking a job. Actually, education is for the purpose of elevating oneself. Because the concept of rizq itself, as I mentioned in the khutbah, for those who are available, those who are not available, look at Alhaajar TV, you notice there. Because the concept of rizq, as long as it's distorted and we're severed away from it, we will use education as a means to seek that rizq. And when we forget the fact that it's about creativity, it's about learning, and not being someone in terms of being the one that leads a generation, and then becomes maybe a leader or head of something, and being a leader within yourself, you end up thinking of education as a means to an end. But in reality, that's not the purpose. Education is freedom. Education is for the purpose of elevation. Not for the purpose of serving the one thing that literally destroys us within. But when we seek that education and serve Allah alone, and we learn it for that sake, you find yourself elevating. You find your creativity expanding. You find yourself seeking a different purpose from why you are learning. But not to serve the one thing that you find that is taking and chipping away from your life. Wallahi al-azim. Because if that's what we are going to do, we will pass away with a lot of regrets. And we will pass away while we have been intellectually murdered. Because the modern project is for the purpose of intellectual genocide. Always remember that. Genocide is not the death of bodies or mass murdering. But the fact that intellectually we are murdered, that's enough to wipe away a generation. Because once we are intellectually severed away from reality, it is impossible to educate those who come after us. And who are we going to be as a role model for the next leaders? Bear in mind, I'm going to repeat this again from yesterday. You are a leader within yourself. You do not need to be a head of a certain cult or group or nation for you to be a leader. You can be the leader within yourself that guides mankind without needing to be in that position. In fact, for me to give you hope, do you think Yusuf alayhi salam was a head of state like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Do you think Yusuf alayhi salam was like Musa alayhi salam who led an ummah of the Israelites? Do you think Yusuf alayhi salam was like Isa alayhi salam who was made to be a leader in a position where he wasn't gonna be a leader in that sense? But in fact, he came as a prophet at his time. Because there's a difference between a Nabi and what? And a Rasul. Although he came with the Bible at his time, remember, as he came, not to be elevated in a standard of being a head of people. But if you look at Yusuf alayhi salam, even when he was released from prison, these are written in the Quran, which we can look into in our reality today, and we are severed from it. When he left, the king of Egypt wanted to give him that leadership. He said, no. In fact, my expertise, اجعلني على خزائن الأرض, in the treasures of this earth, in the treasures of Egypt, I can handle and be the ministry of treasure. I know exactly the economy of Egypt, how it runs, because he received that dream. يأكلهن سبع عجاف وسبع سنبلات خضر وأخرى يابسات. That these cattle were swallowing the other ones, and through that he interpreted that they are going to come years ahead, which is just going to be famine. So what do they need to do? They need to do something about the economy now. And because he had that knowledge and that ilm at the time which Allah inspired him with, he knew that him to be a leader, he needs to lead in this position. What about your leadership? Is it for you to be ahead of something? ahead of people, that is not leadership. Redefine the purpose of leadership. You are a leader within yourself. As you learn, you elevate. As you learn, you lead. And as you learn, you become a different person. And with that, inshallah ta'ala, I'll conclude. And I hope, bi'idhnillahi al-kareem, that Allah makes us of those who listen to something that which is beneficial, and we take it and learn from it and make use of it. وصلى اللهم على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.